So Barbacena was the one. That was an interesting town. It was the furthest south in our mission. And that one had been, like I mentioned, affected by previous missionaries who had gone swimming with a bunch of the members of the church. It had been a little inappropriate. And it really complicated things, especially with reactivation. It was very, very difficult. That town also had a handful of hospitals for what they would call the insane asylum, just for mental health issues. For some reason, there was a large concentration of those hospitals in this city, which was kind of interesting in and of itself. The thing that I remember about this town was that we lived in an apartment with a little old lady who, and for some reason this was approved, we actually just were in one bedroom in her house. But she wore dentures, and so at night she would walk around the house without her dentures, and she would just it was really cute. It was in that house that they had the 1996 Summer Olympics, and we were permitted to stay up and watch. And with the time zone difference, at the time, we were up until about 3 o'clock in the morning waiting for America and Brazil the United States of America to come out and do their little march at the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. So we were able to stay up for that, and this little lady allowed us to kind of intrude on her space while we watched the Olympics. She was wonderful. She had a washer and a dryer, and didn't have that the entire mission. You're washing your clothes by hand the whole time. And the fuse blew out as we were wanting to use the washing machine for the first time. And for whatever reason, she was concerned about something and she refused to replace the fuse. So I had a washing machine there, and I had to wash by hand for the rest of my mission. So that was a real letdown, but I was so excited to use the washing machine. But her house was right across the street from the padaria, which is just a bakery. And that was one of the things that I love about Brazil. You could walk into a bakery and they had all sorts of breads. And of course, we'd wake up in the morning and that smell would just waft right through her house. It was such a delicious, yummy smell. I absolutely loved living there with her. And she was really sweet. She bought me a handcrafted blanket that I brought home, and we still use it to this day actively. It's just a fun little thing that she got, and she wanted to pose in it so I could remember her, so she wrapped it around her shoulders and she kind of did this little pose and got a picture of her. Dona Leite was her name. But that was one thing that I really, really loved about living in that area. We did have like I mentioned, there was one sister in the ward. She was the Relief Society president. She was a little bit older, sister as well. But she was a woman who we visited a few times, and I fell in love with her because she reminded me so much of my mom. So as I'm getting close to the end of my mission, it was just really nice having this lady there that reminded me so much of home. It didn't get me the least bit trunky. I loved being in Brazil. I was looking forward to going home, but I loved being in Brazil. And so it was just really neat to get to know this lady. And her mannerisms even reminded me a bit of my mother. But it was in this town that we had probably one of our strongest converts out of all the people that I taught and were baptized. You get out there, you clap on the doors, you don't knock. And this girl comes out. She's wearing this see-through white shirt, and she just has her stuff on underneath, and that's it. I mean, you can see right through, and we're like, hi, would you like to hear the gospel? No, okay, well, we'll just move on to the next door. A little uncomfortable, but a lady from inside said, hey, tell them to come in. And she hadn't even looked up out the window. She had no idea who we were. So this girl kind of wraps herself up a little bit, and we walk in, and she wanders off in the back, thank goodness, and we meet this lady called Alexandra. Had her little daughter there. She lived with her husband, Paulo. And we started teaching her. She wanted to hear the discussions. So we started teaching her. She was amazing. She was one of those ones that had a dream and had really powerful experiences with the Book of Mormon just the whole way through. I don't know how else to explain it. She just had really strong experiences. And she decided not to wait for her husband, but she went ahead and was baptized. And we visited her. She was a military police in Brazil. There's a mandatory, I think to a degree, mandatory military police service. And she was actually serving as a military police at the time. So she was baptized, joined the church, and I communicated with her, and then I left and went home and wrote her a couple of times. And she wrote back a couple times saying that she was preparing to receive her patriarchal blessing, which is really exciting. Shortly thereafter, I received another letter from her saying that she had been called to serve as a Relief Society president. And then shortly thereafter, she was preparing herself to go to the temple. And then the last letter I received in Sao Paulo, she would have busted down. And then the last letter I received from her was that she had been preparing herself to go the second time to the temple. But at the time, her husband had still not joined the church. Good man, great man. We really loved teaching him as well. But that was a great experience for me as well. And like I say, one of our strongest investigators and converts. I've looked her up on Facebook several times, and I work with a Brazilian right now, and he's tried to help me try and track her down. I realize I'm looking for the wrong age. This woman was in her late 20s when we taught her, and that's not who I was looking for. I was even maybe I'd see her daughter, but her daughter was 1.5 years old when we taught. So I'm thinking she's probably married and has children of her own. So tried to track her down, haven't been able to find her since then, but would love to connect with her again and see where she is in life. But that was a really neat experience with her. Really loved teaching her.